I said, okay, let's proceed. So I just kept going, and I thought, well, the money didn't appear to build it, so I thought, I'm going to make a film. And I had done all the stills that inspired all this. They're all in the gallery. There's quite, not all of them, but some capture the feeling that I wanted to evoke in the space. And so then it was beyond my knowledge how to do it. So a young architect I was introduced to knew all the software that was needed, how to do it. And so I worked with him for about 2 years on it, and he made a few attempts at doing it, and I kept saying, it has to have this glow like this has over here, the still images that I did in my studio. And so he kept working on it, and I kept saying, you're getting it right in there. And so finally he got it. And he got it by, I can't tell you all of it, but it's basically Photoshop and a plugin that allows that glow, around neon-like glow, which I have in some of my still work. And eventually, that's pretty much how it is. And so he took my drawings and put them into something like SketchUp, which makes a 3D model out of drawings. Once he had that, he was able to move around the space, and we picked, say, 15, 20 viewpoints within the space to render. And then I knew I wanted music to be part of it. And so we discovered Eliane Rodriguez's work, and she's an electronic musician from France. She's in her 80s now, and she was like the mother of electronic music, and she'd been doing this since the 60s. So I was able to get in touch with her and ask her permission to use some of her work. I was going to edit it out. We edited it out. She had a series of 5 pieces, and we took bits and pieces of each one of those, and then put it into the video. I had to pay for the rights to do it. I had to contact her publisher in New York. It was a process. Eventually, she said I could do it, and I told her I wanted to do this, and she said that was fine. And so that's about as much as I can tell you technically on that, but it was a process. It's a long process, and it was meant to evoke an experience. And my idea was that you would enter this building, and as you went through it, there would be an infinite variety of lighting situations that could occur. And so we evoked some of them, but actually it could be infinite. It could be programmed so it was infinite. You would never see the same thing twice in that space. And you'd come out the other side of it, and hopefully you had an experience that, I wouldn't say altered your perception, but in some way enhanced it. And that was my goal. And it did it for me. I can't speak for anybody else, but I felt it. And I felt that there was no, as it went on, I could see, well, there's no answer in there. There was no resolution. It was free-floating, free, and it came, it went, it changed. Some people that I know looked at it and were a bit disturbed by that. I said, well, you didn't resolve it. I said, no, I think that was on purpose. That nothing resolves itself. There's many unanswered things, and that's life. So it was, it's just fine with me the way it is. And that's the short story. And I never did get anybody to build this thing. I have it all on my website. I have it actually on a ranch. I know the owner of a ranch out in Lakey, 5,000 acres, and beautiful house. And we put it out in his field, and I wrapped the building in mirrors. So it's just a mirrored cube with just an entrance, a circular entrance that has color. And that's it. And it just reflects everything around. So my plan was to be able to create this in various forms, move it around. Well, I had very grandiose plans for this thing. But in the end, the video was a way to sell the idea to somebody, to raise that money and say, this is what it's going to look like inside. When I saw it, I thought, well, maybe it's an end in itself. So I entered it in a few film festivals. It got in. I mean, I entered it in a lot of film festivals. It got in 2. I was very pleased with that. But this is one of the best showings of it. The way Mary put it together is excellent. The sound is good, and the projection is good, and so. Any other questions? No? Oh, question.
I got one on one of your presentations in the gallery.
Mm-hmm.
And you go in, first one on the right, it's got some really brilliant oranges and reds.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you do that? I mean, it just struck me as being...
Well, I make that particular image, I think I know the one you're talking about. They were made, that's fairly old work from the 80s. And it was, they're paper constructions. I take colored papers and I make sculptures out of them and then light them. And that's basically what it is. It's not that mysterious. It's just that when light, my whole work, everything is about light. From the beginning, it's been about light. It's all about light and the feelings that you get from light. So when I lit this, it started glowing. When I do a lot of work with lighting, and there's a whole body of work that is called paper constructions. Is that good? Did it answer? Yeah, yeah. It's I'm doing other things now where I'm still using light, and they've evolved though. They've evolved into another direction where I'm using all kinds of other things that transmit light. Plus, I work outside. I do black and white work outside. I still shoot film, so only film. That's it. So, anything else? Any other questions?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. That was such a treat, the whole experience. It was such a treat.
Wow.
Really enjoyed it.
Wow. Well, I appreciate that. Last night we showed it, and we had some similar responses. And I haven't got direct feedback from people. I have no idea what people think out of this. And I'm glad that you responded that way. Everything I do is motivated by those kinds of things about what's inside of us, what you feel. And it's never about what you think, it's about what you feel. So actually when I work, I have a test. You know, I'm working outside, say, and the test is the goosebump test. And the hair, when I see something in my camera, whether it's in my studio or in the field, when I get it, the hair on my arm, it just stands straight up. And I look and I can feel it. And I think, so I go into another space. And, because my feeling is that there's more than meets the eye to everything. What we consider is real, quote unquote, has multiple layers to it. And those layers, most of them are invisible. Now, how do you take photographs of things that are invisible? And the camera's ability to capture things that are not real is amazing. Most of the camera's mystique to me is its ability to capture things that can't be seen. And so my work is about that. It's like, what lies beneath the surface beyond what we commonly say is reality? This film is about that too. So I don't lecture people because I don't have the answer to it. I just know I feel that. Most people, when you talk to them and ask them, is this all there is in this room? Is this all that's happening right now? Well, you can describe it. You can take a real photograph of it, but what people bring is invisible. And every time somebody enters a room, they bring something that changes reality. And it's all hidden. It's their feelings, what they felt like today, what their perceptions are. Oh, that person showed up. I wish they weren't here. I didn't really want to see them. That's in there. And memories, dreams, deja vu, it's all here in the room. We can't see it. So I try to evoke it. So somebody once asked me, so what kind of photographs do you take? I said, well, I try to photograph what's beneath the surface. And she said, so you're a medical photographer? And I said, yeah, okay. So that's always the hard part to me. It's not the subject matter that I'm photographing. It's what can I evoke from that subject matter. So I can imagine being condemned to being in a white room with a chair and a camera for the rest of my life, like Sartre's play No Exit. And I thought, well, what would I do? And I've had people say, well, there's nothing to photograph in here. I said, oh, that's not true. There's everything to photograph in here. You've got to find it. You can use motion, you can use focus, you can use multiple exposures, you can, if you had a pencil, you could draw, too. There's no end to what you can do. It's just, what is it that you want to say? That's the hard part. What is it you want to say? And it's not, to me, I don't photograph things. So I have nothing against that, but I am looking for what's beyond what I see. And when I see it, then I get that feeling and I know I'm in that space. So half of it's in the camera, the other half of it happens in my darkroom. So, you know, so I very much appreciate that comment. Okay.
So,
Oh,
just
other
before you
questions?
go-
I love questions, so.
Well, okay, I still work just with film in the darkroom, so do you think you could take what you're doing and feeling and emoting and do it digitally?
Oh, I I don't shoot digitally. Well, in the exhibit, there's one digital image that I took. That's it, just one. But I have nothing against digital. It's just that my medium is film, either all formats, color and black and white. So recently, I've been working with, in my studio on a new series that is ongoing, and I found myself shooting black and white 35 millimeter film and printing it in my darkroom, then scanning it, high-res scans, and then coloring it in Photoshop and using Photoshop as my digital darkroom. And they're black and white images that have been altered and changed. I'm not a purist in that sense, so I'll do whatever I can. As a friend says, you unabashedly manipulate your images. It makes no difference to me.
I was thinking more in line of this shooting, because I think film, like you said, slows you down.
Oh, yeah,
Because you
for sure.
don't have that many on a roll,
Mhm.
so it slows you down a lot.
Yeah, the thing is that I taught for 12 years at Texas State in San Marcos in the art department. And so you tell students, they want to use their digital camera, and I say, well, the thing is, you're going to shoot film in this camera, in this course. And I said, so you've got a limit, you're not going to shoot 2,000 shots. You give your mother a digital camera and you got 2,000 shots, you're going to get something. No matter who you are, you're going to get something. But to be able to be intentional about what you get, it's just like using a 4x5 camera. It slows you down. And it's like making 35 millimeters, like making quick sketches. And 4x5 is like a meditative process, slow. And you have to be conscious and intentional about what you're doing. It's fabulous, different. So it's strange that a lot of people abandoned film, but film didn't disappear. And I went to the local lab in Austin where I live, and I said, so is film gone? They said, oh, good God, no. I mean, more and more and more people wanting it. And, you have manufacturers that haven't abandoned it at all. Maybe Kodak has, but certainly not Ilford and Fuji. I'm not sure about what Fuji's plans are, but at any rate, it's still here, and people still want it. And I get these questions all the time. People are suddenly wanting film again, and they want to get back in the darkroom. They want to make things, put their hands on things. When you make a print, it's magic in there. It's alchemy. Jim Smiley, So you got your enlarger, and what are you doing? You're in there messing with light. It's moving it here, moving it there, taking it out here. It's magic, and then it comes up in the darkroom tray, and you, oh my God, it's alchemy. That has not disappeared, and people feel that. So, even if I'm tempted at times to work digitally, I won't, because of the discipline that is inherent in my process. So I feel it, sometimes I gotta get in there, I'm gonna spend 12 hours in there, and I'm not gonna get a damn thing, it all goes in the wastebasket, and then I start over tomorrow. But it is a slowing down process, and you can lose yourself in that dark room. It's just magic in there. I think most people who've been there know that. And I do work on the computer. And I don't judge anybody for doing anything, whatever process is their process is, and whatever, the only thing that matters is what comes out. What are you saying? That's the only thing that matters. That good? Is that all right? Well, okay, I'm willing to talk or ask anything else if you have other questions. If you want to, we're going to show this again, right?
Certainly.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I guess that's enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to Show the film again?
Yeah.
Y'all are ready?
You don't have to watch it again.